Thanks for being here. A couple of quick comments. My wife reminded me is after the game, I did not say anything about our veterans and respect, and much respect that our football team and our players and our staff. So I apologize. That was, just a lot going on, and there was certainly no intent not to recognize the men and women who serve our country, this incredible country, and the respect that we have certainly within this university and within this facility that we have for the men and women who serve. And my father was in the Army, and my sister was in the Air Force, and so I apologize for that. There is certainly no intent not to bring that up. Champions after the game, Michigan State on defense, Nick Bosa, Sam Hubbard, Taekwon Lewis, Jalen Holmes, Chase Young in the defensive line. You had Chris Worley, Malik Harrison in the linebacker unit. Denzel Ward, Kenda Sheffield, they arguably played his best game, and Damon Webb on the back end of our defense. And then player of the game, Damon Arnett, who, by the way, was pulled from the game with a thigh bruise, but he's probable for this week, and Tuff Borland. Those are the co-players of the game. On the other side of the ball, you had 5 wide receivers, incredibly, very, as they have been for most of the year, very unselfish with their approach to the game. A lot of those big hits were because of their efforts down the field. Johnny Dixon, Paris Campbell, K.J. Hill, Terry McLaurin, and Austin Mack, all graded champions. The running backs had their best game as a unit against a very good rush defense. Ran extremely hard and fast. J.K. Dobbins, obviously, and Mike Weber had his best day. Offensive line, you had Jamarco Jones, Michael Jordan, Isaiah Prince, and Knox. That's a good sign when your offensive line, especially that style of defense. And good to see tight ends again, Marcus Ball and Rashad Berry. Player of the game on offense was, we talked about him, I was asked a question. He just started his 51st game in Ohio State, which is obviously a record, probably one that will be hard to ever be broken, and a guy that we have great respect for, Billy Price. Special units, special forces, kickoff team was outstanding. And let's see here. Player of the game was Eric Smith, and 2 solos on kickoff, and played exceptional for us. So special teams was a bright spot for us. Punt, once again, no return yards for the year. Kickoff return, we only had 1 opportunity. And punt block, we almost got one, but pretty good effort all the way across the board. So with that said, I'll answer questions for you.
Front row middle, Dave. Urban, something just seems off the targeting penalty in college football. I know the intentions are good. I just want to get your opinion on this. It just seems like a player should have to do something really egregious to get ejected from a game. I guess what can be done about this? One example might be, the first one is a warning plus the 15 yards.
I don't agree with that. I think when you start talking about the safety of the player, no, I think, I think if they make a mistake, Denzel Ward's was a mistake. That's where the replay official should not be a replay official anymore. I mean, don't have that. You're sitting in a the guy in the fields make mistakes. It happens fast. But a replay official screws it up, then you can't do that. But the other ones we've had, and I was disappointed in Draymond. I mean, that was a late hit, and you don't do that. So we teach it. Obviously, we don't teach it well enough, but I don't agree that they should change it. They just is what it is. Keep your face out, keep your helmet out of the game.
At linebacker, Chris Worley seemed to play well at outside linebacker last year. He seemed to play well there this past week. Tuff Borland seemed to play well in the middle. Is there a chance that Worley's best on the outside and Borland's your best middle?
We're having that conversation now. I agree.
Front row left, Bill. Urban, we know you guys would prefer to have a quarterback in every recruiting class. When you have one who is committed for a while and maybe you're not certain how that's going to end, and that's such an important position, at what point do you have to maybe move on from that guy to make sure that you will get a quarterback in your recruiting class?
You have to have one every year. Yeah, that's setting yourself up for a disaster if something goes on down the road. So you always have plan A, plan A, B, C, and D, and we do.
And is there any chance in this class, I know spots are tight, that you could have more than one quarterback in this recruiting class?
Possible. Yeah, possible. Those are, like you just said, that the issue that's going to come up here is this early sign-in period, and then you still don't know who's going to declare for the draft a month later. So that's, Mark keeps wanting to talk to me about it, and I said, give me some time. But we don't have much time. But the other thing you're going to see is the guy that you keep on the back burner and try to flip him at the end, he signs on the 20th. You don't have those guys either. So it's going to be an interesting year.
Front row right, Bill.
Urban, I'm sure you've given this no thought, but it's certainly a topic of conversation among Ohio State fans, the playoff. Looked like last week you guys were out of it. Is it something that you even think
No.
about? Do you broach?
No.
Is it something that you at least want the players to have
Zero.
that?
There'll be
carrot?
zero conversation around here, and especially when you guys talk to the players. There'll be zero conversation about what happened before and what's going to happen in the future. Zero.
But does it give hope that there's something, a higher ceiling than maybe it was
Zero
last week?
conversation about beat Illinois.
Third row left, Dan.
You talked about the linebackers. Malik Harrison looked like he had a big game as well the other day. Do you see him as a guy who can get more playing time
Yes.
going forward?
It was good, very good game. I wouldn't say big, he's not there yet, but he certainly is a guy that has earned more and more time.
You've also talked a lot about the offensive line and how in 2014 that was such a crucial part of your success that year. I know you've had some issues with the depth this year, but in terms of that starting five, do you feel like they're getting close to where that 2014 line was?
Once again, I want to keep focus on right now. I'll tell you after this game. But to say that they're much improved, I think Coach Studd's done a wonderful job with them. I think the intentions, the intensities there, the intentional work that they have at practice each week, it's been good, and we are down to our sixth guy. Bowen got hurt, and Demetrius Knox came in and graded champion again. I think that's three games that he's graded a champion. So we're moving in the right direction.
Far left, Matt.
You've seen it all over college football. It's happened to you the last couple of weeks. I guess it happens every year, but wild swings one way to the next. You're in it with these guys. Can you, because fans are always asking, how do you explain that? Can you explain being in it and coaching how 1 week things can go really well for a team and the next week it doesn't, or vice versa?
I imagine I wasn't here 100 years ago, but I imagine that's every year is, every year I've been involved in college football, there's like, what happened? And that's nature of the beast. And that's, once again, zero conversation about what happened in the past and what could potentially happen in the future. We got to really have a good Tuesday practice, and I'm going to be out of my damn mind about that. There's going to be zero conversation about that, other than play really hard in Tuesday's practice and get ready for a game on Saturday.
Also, it's the last game at home for your senior class. How is that going to be for you? I know you're close.
No, we're very close with this group of seniors, so there'll be once again, I haven't thought about a bunch, and there'll be the right time to have those conversations, but it's very well documented, our respect and love we have for these guys, because they've, it's the first time we've had a couple fifth-year seniors, too, that have decided to stay with throughout the journey, and we're going to treat them right. Best way to treat them right is go win this game.
Far left, Lori.
Coach, you told Doug last week that you didn't accept the things that happened against Iowa were a fluke, that you wanted to examine why. Did the answers you find in Michigan State indicate that you have answered that question to your satisfaction?
We're not going there. We're going to have a good week of practice this week.
Second row left, Dory.
Urban, going back to the quarterback recruiting stuff, you guys deal with a lot of difficult situations in recruiting all the time in terms of how to balance things. But when you're talking about the quarterback position specifically and having a guy who's been committed for a long time and then having plans A, B, and C, like you said, is that the most difficult thing that you have to do in terms of conversation and balance?
I'm not really allowed to talk about.
No, not specifically. I just put like just
yeah, that's
recruiting the
unusual. Quarterback's a unique position. An offensive guard, you can take two of them. Receiver, you can usually take two or three guys, and those are all critical spots. At quarterbacks, that's the position. So yeah, it's just making a lot of time and a lot of effort spent on that position.
And the other thing, you've been around a lot of really good teams in your career and have won multiple national championships. When this team turns it on like it did in the fourth quarter of the Penn State game and the way you guys played on Saturday, does this team look like a team that could resemble or be in the same conversation as some of the better ones you've had
Those
here?
will be good conversations to have down the road, and we have a very good team. Just got to practice like it and play like it.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, I know that this probably won't be a conversation that you guys have this week, but You know, I think in the weight room, you guys spend the offseason talking about winning a conference championship. And the playoff era, it seems like for some people, it doesn't seem to mean the same amount to them. They only talk about a national championship and not a conference championship. Do you feel like conference titles have been devalued, or they're not appreciated as much for how hard they are to win every single year because there's maybe attention on another thing that you can't control?
All due respect, we'll talk about that in February or March or something, but not now. Our objective is to find a way to have a good week of practice and win this game.
Can you believe that this will be the last time JT plays in the Horseshoe?
I'm sorry?
What does it mean maybe
Oh.
to you that JT played for the last time in the Horseshoe, what he's given to you guys over the last week?
Yeah, it's well documented, and I love JT. JT's a member of the Meyer family and the Buckeye family for the rest of his life, and I just wanted to play really well and do the best we can to prepare him to play very well.
Front row right, Tim.
Yeah, Urban, you said after the game on Saturday that one of the guys who stepped up, maybe in the shock of what happened at Iowa, was Billy Price, spoke to the team, et cetera. You know, you spoke earlier in the year about players having ownership of their team. Did he and the seniors, in your opinion, take ownership of what happened and what was to come after that game? And how did it show
Yes,
up in your mind?
yes, I think, I don't think, that's what happened, what you just said. And once again, I don't want to keep going backwards, but that is exactly what happened. And with that, that one's over. That one's done. Now let's see him step up for Tuesday's practice and Wednesday's practice, and then play really well on Saturday.
And the other thing, Zach Turner is one of those guys who has flashed on kickoff coverage. He had another really great play on Saturday. What have you seen of him? Just
Great player.
I mean, and how did he respond to your call for better coverage, et cetera?
Oh, he's not been the problem. He's been part of the solution, and he is a tough guy. I love that kid. His family should be very proud of who he is. He's on scholarship now, and it's not because of a gift. It's because he's earned that. He's one of our most productive players on the team. And even when you see him not making a tackle, he's usually creating enough chaos that someone else makes it. So he's a stud. I love that kid.
And one other thing, obviously Illinois is in 7th place in the West. What is it about them that will get your players' attention, do you believe, this week?
Their defensive line's really good. That's one area that, and obviously today's Monday, we're right in them knee-deep and watching them. I have not watched their offense yet. Like I normally just don't have any answers for you in offense. But defensive line catches your attention, and they're penetrators, and they're big dudes, 310 pounds and 290 the other guy. But the defensive line catches your eye as their strength.
And final questions, front row left, Doug.
Urban, I know sometimes in your career you have a workhorse tailback, sometimes you have a couple guys you used. What have you thought of the way you guys have worked J.K. and Mike together this year, and then we saw it Saturday? Where are you at the tailback position?
I think we're as strong right now as we've ever had it, as far as depth. Antonio does a nice job, too. I like the way we used the guys. Obviously, it worked out. But I thought, I think it's a good credit for Coach Strudwawa, too. That's as active as he's been in the game plan. And when a line coach takes ownership like that, that was against the number one rush team in America, or at least top 5. And I thought our backs ran really hard. They played fresh, and they played fast, and they played hard. So I like the rotation we had. I think J.K. had 18 and Mike had 10 or 9 or something like that. I like the mix. And then obviously Mike Weber's also been involved in the return game as well.
And you talked after the game, running a couple different run plays. You mentioned the draw. We know how often you guys talk about evening up the numbers in the Reed game. Just what's the conversation like when maybe you were talking about maybe let's look at some different running plays where it is just a handoff to the tailback? What was that like for you guys to do that and look at some of those things?
It was done well in that room, and it was the one thing about a draw a lot of times is you lose the equation of numbers, and you have to run the Q all the time. Q draw you can equate numbers, but my gosh, you keep running the quarterback too much, and so you can only run it in certain looks, and that's if they leave the box because they're worried about your pass defense. And that's what happened on that one. The big hit was because we're a good crossing route team. I imagine, once again, I'm not their coaches, but they were playing in coverage, and we hit a draw on them. So those are great conversations we've had in there. We've had them before, but direct handoffs to the tailback, you get outnumbered quickly, and that's why you got to use unique formations or formations they're not comfortable with.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you.